Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the morning of October 21st, 2020. In this video, today is the 92nd day since negotiations began for the next disaster relief package back in July. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows was on CNBC yesterday, and he began his interview by stating that he just got off the phone with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin after Secretary Mnuchin had just concluded his 45-minute call at 3 p.m. EST with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, whose Deputy Chief of Staff Drew Hamill reported on Twitter that there was progress during the phone call in negotiations for the next round of stimulus. Chief Meadows acknowledged that indeed there was progress during the call. However, a few open items remain. Therefore, the administration and House Democrats are working with the corresponding committee chairs in appropriations, in tax and health and human services, in the lower and upper chambers of Congress, in the House of Representatives and the Senate, so they can take a closer look at the language, at the numbers. However, Chief Meadows wanted to stress that the differences did not solely lie on the numbers and the language. He stated that there was still a ways to go. However, again, he acknowledged that there was progress during the call, and he's looking forward to seeing more progress during today's call that Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have lined up this afternoon once Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin returns from the Middle East. Then CNBC reporter Sarah Eisen asked Chief Meadows what was the current administration's offer. He stated that was a moving and sticking point. Chief Meadows acknowledged that indeed the offer was a moving and sticking point, that the administration moved up its $1 trillion offer to $1.3 trillion offer, then to a $1.5 trillion offer, and the current administration's offer is at about $1.88 trillion. Then he stated that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's offer was at $2.2 trillion, that she stayed firm at that offer, or $2.4 trillion, depending on what the Speaker wanted to package in it. He stated that a key sticking point was the funding for state and local governments, and that remained unchanged. As you know, the administration is willing to pony up $300 billion for state and local governments, while House Democrats are demanding $436 billion. And House Democrats have argued several times that it's to prevent layoffs of essential healthcare workers, police officers, firefighters, sanitation workers, transportation workers, teachers. And now, according to Chief Meadows, they are working with Senate Republicans and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and his team and his committee chairs so they can take a closer look at the language and so they can ensure that whatever deal that they make is not packed with poison pills that will stop Senate Republicans from ultimately supporting the deal that they can pass as the next stimulus bill and ultimately slap onto the president's desk so he can sign it into law and disperse the much needed funds to the American people. Chief Meadows stated that he had spoken with the president several times yesterday concerning this, and the president stayed firm and bullish, that was his word, verbatim, that if the key difference lied in the amount of money that the administration wants and that Democrats want, that the administration would be willing to pony up more money for small businesses through another round of Paycheck Protection Program loans, more money to fund tax incentives for businesses to onshore their manufacturing facilities from overseas to the United States, and a higher stimulus check for individuals and children who have been suffering due to this pandemic. And he stated that the differences remained twofold. And he stressed that it was because both sides remained hundreds of billions of dollars apart. However, all parties are working very hard to try to cut a deal before the weekend so they can set the legislative agenda for the next couple of weeks. Then CNBC reporter Wilfred Frost told Chief Meadows that, as you have mentioned, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin have made progress during their phone calls. Do Senate Republicans that have stated that they will not support any deal that the administration and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi would ultimately cut, are they the key stumbling block in ensuring that whatever deal the administration and House Democrats make ultimately gets passed by the Senate and by the House and gets put into law and gets slapped on the president's desk so he can sign into law and disperse much needed funds to the American people? Chief Meadows stated that the key stumbling block, the key hurdle remained House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, because the administration has offered several options to attempt to compromise with the Speaker. However, that she has not changed. He acknowledges she has changed from dropping her demands from $3.4 trillion to $2.4 to $2.2 trillion. However, she has just made adjustments in the timeline, whereas the administration has offered several concessions, whether it's working with Senate Republicans to try to pass a $500 billion package on which all parties can add and ultimately build a comprehensive deal. You know that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is forcing a vote for a $500 billion package, and he told reporters in Kentucky that his members would more likely support a $500 billion package, which may include funding for another round of Paycheck Protection Program loans, money for schools, money for hospitals, and business liability protections that, as you very well know, is being powered by the Chamber of Commerce, who is pumping millions of dollars in favor of GOP candidates in federal races so they ensure that they package business liability protections in the next round of stimulus, while the Trial Lawyers Association is funding Democrats in federal races to ensure that they block any provisions for business liability protections in the next round of stimulus. So, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has rejected that, and she has rejected any offers from the administration to increase the amount of money that they are willing to pony up, that they are willing to offer for the next round of stimulus. Then, Chief Meadows did acknowledge that a deal that the administration and the House Democrats would ultimately cut will divide Senate Republicans, because there are still a group of Senate Republicans who do think that the federal government has done enough to get the country through the economic disruption and the public health crisis the pandemic has dealt on the country. They want zero. That's his word verbatim. And they want zero while us, we, the American people, pay them to take multiple recesses throughout the year. And if the opposite of pro is con, so they can achieve Congress as opposed to progress, So they can achieve Congress as opposed to progress. Let me know if you didn't catch that in the comments below. So they're doing that, and they want zero. And there are other people, other Senate Republicans, that state that, or they believe that the administration has done enough by moving up their offer to $1.88 trillion. But as you very well know, President Donald Trump yesterday went on Fox News and he stated that he wanted even a bigger number than what Democrats want. So even higher than the $2.2 trillion that Democrats are demanding for the next round of stimulus. However, you've got Republicans such as Senator Marsha Blackburn, representing the state of Tennessee, Republican, who just went on CNBC this morning, stated that she will not support anything at $2 trillion because at $2 trillion, it is supporting the cannabis industry, and it's not supporting job growth, it's not supporting the economy, it is not doing anything to help the country get through the public health crisis and the economic disruption that the pandemic has dealt on the country. U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi wrote a letter last night to her Democratic colleagues, writing that during the phone call, the 45-minute phone call at 3 p.m. EST with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, both sides make progress in setting forth their agreements and disagreements, moving closer to ultimately making an agreement and cutting a deal for the next round of stimulus. She echoed what her Deputy Chief of Staff, Drew Hamill, wrote on Twitter. They spoke at 3 p.m. for 45 minutes. And the call revealed common ground and more clarity as both sides move closer to reaching an agreement. She said that the deadline that she set has enabled both Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to see the decision can be reached, that language can be exchanged, and it demonstrated that both sides are getting closer and are serious to ultimately compromising and cutting a deal for the next round of stimulus. During certain open questions, as I said before, she stated that both sides called on committee chairs in the lower chamber and upper chambers of Congress so they can reconcile differences in funding and language. And she stated that she was awaiting, and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin was also awaiting, the guidance from these committee chairs so they can be equipped to take their call later on this afternoon, today, October 21st, 2020, once Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin returns from his trip in the Middle East. She wrote that we must crush the virus to open our economy and our schools safely and soon. She stated that our heroes must be honored, our workers must be protected, and communities of color must be respected. She said all of this is now even more imperative as there are dramatic rises in cases, deaths, job losses and millions of more people that go into poverty. She said that the way that this money is allocated will determine how we save lives, livelihoods, and the life of this American democracy. She stated that for the people, she ensures that help is on the way. She is hopeful that the federal government will be able to pass a stimulus bill before the election. She assured that the bill will be safer, bigger, better, and it will be retroactive. According to 3 Republicans familiar with the matter, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is trying to stop President Donald Trump from making a deal for a comprehensive stimulus package with Democrats before the election because, 1, it may alienate fiscally conservative voters in the GOP base. Senate Republicans will vote against it, and he does not want a comprehensive disaster relief package to interfere with the confirmation of Judge Amy Coney Barrett as a Supreme Court Justice. So he wants to ensure that he confirms Amy Coney Barrett as Supreme Court Justice before he provides much needed funding through another disaster relief package to you, the American people. Let me know what you think. Drop your comments and feelings in the comments section below. Watch this video right here for more stimulus and economic injury disaster loan grant coverage. Click the like button if you like the video. Click the subscribe button and click the bell notification to stay on top of my findings when I upload them. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America and everybody else on this planet. Talk soon.